Welcome to the Say What podcast. So glad that you could join us today. It's been a crazy week.
Oh, golly.
It's been crazy.
Man.
But we're here. I know we're a little bit late putting this up this week, but we've been dealing with a lot and going through some stuff. But we're good now, and we're moving forward.
It's been a good week.
It has been.
I mean, it has been. It's been crazy. It's been wild. I mean, we come to the end of a series. We're in transition. Don't we?
Do you have a hole in your shirt? Look for real.
Yeah, dude, for real.
Is it made like that?
Yeah.
His shirt is not. What's up?
Say what? So it's been one of those weeks, man. I kind of feel like my shirt.
Yeah.
Put together, little old school Western wear with holes. I'm a rhinestone cowboy at heart.
All right. Anyways, it's been a great series. Seriously, the Whisper series. Been a lot to talk about it. We've been getting emails, people tuning into the podcast, just to hear what we're talking about because no one else is talking about it.
Yeah, other pastors listening and trying to apply it to their church stuff too, which is really good.
Yeah. So this week, which was last week, talked about parenting and social media.
I'm just thinking about the fact that you don't think I'm a good parent.
I didn't say that.
I did. We started. I'm sorry. We pulled this podcast together. You know, the problem is people listen to our podcast. They listen to other podcasts where it's real professional. And then they get to ours. It's like, they were listening to ours like it was just like random. Like one night when they were done with everybody else's really intellectual podcast, they were like, "Who are these two goofballs?" All right, that's good. And so we're actually trying to be serious, and I'm sure they're just laughing at us the whole time. So. But anyways, yes, we did. We finished up the Whisper series. It was a great series. A lot of people talking about it, all the issues. But now this week we finished on social media and parenting, and I really kind of went heavy on the parenting part because I need a lot of help.
When you parent, when you get mad at your boys, do you wear that shirt?
I do all of my discipline. I started out discipline with this statement right here. There's a new sheriff in town. Just like that. And then we go from there.
Let's say you have bullet holes in it.
I know. I'm taking my licks, man. Oh, my gosh. This is some kind of podcast.
It's good, though.
If your parents had done more with you when you were young, you could straighten up. Let me get through this. Yeah. So we talked about parenting, social media, and that's where we ended.
Yeah. That's a big thing for me, too. When we were going through this Whisper series talking about it, social media was something that I wanted you to talk about. I'm glad that you did talk about it because it affects a lot of my kids, a lot of my youth group. And not just my youth group, but students everywhere because they're constantly on social media. They're constantly using those things, using different apps, and it can get bad. It can get bad really quick, and the devil can creep and use those things to get in their lives.
It just, when I was growing up, I got to college, and one of the big things was getting your first computer, getting a desktop. I know you don't know what that is. And then having the internet, we had dial-up. Do you remember dial-up internet?
I remember when I was real young, we couldn't be on the phone and on the internet for whatever reason at the same time.
That's true, but you don't really remember. But yeah, you couldn't. I mean, if you were on the internet, the phone was dead. If you were on the phone, you couldn't be on the internet. In fact, you try to get on the internet, somebody pick up the phone, it's like, "Come on!"
Yeah, I used to yell at because I'd be on the internet or doing something.
You would, and it literally used to dial up. You'd hear it. And then it would be loading, and then it would be loading the whole time, and you would download stuff, and it would load from the top of the screen all the way down, and then you get hung right here, and then it would go all the way down. So like what you're experiencing now, where you're just like, or you're on your phone, bro. And the reason I mention that is because things have progressed so fast. Now we get upset when we don't get something download a certain amount of speed, download speeds and all that stuff, but you have no idea the way it was. I mean, the way it was so, golly, it was just rough. The issue that we have, though, is not just the speed of internet and the ability to get on it that has sped up, but what you can do now that you're there. And the ages of people that are on it and they're exposed to it have continued to change. So, I've got 13-year-olds. They've got phones. They can do anything that they want to. I have to manage it so that they don't. And it goes younger than that. You see elementary school kids with their phones so they can call their parents, or they got Chromebooks, or they got iPads, or they got whatever. So we've literally taken the lid off the internet, taken the lid off of being able to come into our homes, the lid off of knowledge, and placed it there for anybody. We know what kind of effect it's having on grown adults that are getting hooked on different things, much less elementary school age kid or a teenager. So if you're a parent and you're not paying attention to what your kids are doing, even if you are paying attention, it's difficult because you can't keep up with it, and they're smarter than we are. But if you are not paying attention, I'm telling you, man, you're just turning your child over to the enemy, because he is not out to just help build knowledge in your son or daughter. He's out to destroy them. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we talked about in social media, man. What I believe I've given a statistic on Sunday: 26% of all sexual crimes begin on internet.
And some of those percentages that you're throwing out on Sunday with the students or the youth or the teenagers we're talking about, some of them won't even talk about it. So I know those percentages are still probably really low.
Oh yeah, the surveys and trying to get real life answers out of people. You've only got so many that are actually telling the truth, and so many that will report. So you're taking the numbers, and you're probably right. They probably are lower than what the reality is.
Because I was listening to some of them on Sunday, I was like, nah, there's no way that's right. Because I see it, I watch it happen, and I know it's higher than.
It is higher than that, and I would assume too. And when you start looking at almost 50% of students would say that they would behave different if they knew that their parents could see what they did online.
And I guarantee it's a higher number than that.
Probably.
And we talked about parenting with social media this week. It was a great sermon. And I know for me, it was important for me because I feel like my job as a student pastor is to really pour into these students and give them Jesus as much as possible. Let them look at me and see my life and how I live my life, to try to lead them in such a way that they don't need some of the worldly things and they don't have to act like that. But at the same time, I've got to work with the parents because I only see them at school for a few hours a day on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. The rest of the time they're with their parents, and I really need the parents' help to pour into these students in the same way. So because of social media and stuff, it's making parenting harder. Well, I mean, you talked about it on Sunday.
So here's what I would say is a couple things. If we're talking about social media and parenting together, and towards the end of this podcast, we're just going to talk about parenting. And Christ says that one of the things we need to do is, fathers, do not provoke your children unto anger, but bring them into the discipline and instruction of the Lord. And Jesus tells us that our goal as parents is to bring our children into discipline and instruction of the Lord. That's the goal of parenting. On one side of it is parents that provoke their children to anger, which behavior problems because they're too overbearing, or they're too hard on their kids, or they're too hard to love, whatever it might be. So they provoke an outrage or a behavior out of their kids that doesn't have to be there. On the other side of that is you have parents that want to foster bad habits, bad behavior, bad understanding in their kids without intentionally saying that, but they're doing it because they'd rather be their kid's friend as opposed to their friends, or as opposed to being their kid's parent. So they have a friend understanding instead of a parent understanding. These here are overbearing, and in the middle, God says, I want you to discipline them and instruct them so that they follow me. Now, when you think about the social media thing, and I was going to give this out on Sunday, but there's a couple of things that you need to understand on social media, and I would give these to parents as well. These are just kind of a couple of thoughts that I pulled from reading different articles and blogs and different people, different magazine articles, and a couple of things that struck out to me. So if you're thinking about social media, if you're a parent out there and you're thinking about social media, because here's the thing, social media doesn't just affect kids. There's a lot of parents that fall into this trap, man. They are messed up, struggling with stuff. They're upset with their friends. The perception that they have of a family is not reality just because of what's posted. We've all said stuff that we shouldn't have. We probably all posted stuff that we shouldn't have. And so one of the things I try to share with my kids, this is good for everybody, is this. A couple things about social media. Number one, your reputation is at stake. Every choice you make reveals your character online. Your reputation. So if you've got Snapchat, if you've got Facebook, if you've got, I don't know, whatever, Twitter, you got all these different things that you're posting on, that you have a profile on, you're doing all this stuff, your reputation's at stake. So what I'm putting out on the web what I put out on social media has a direct reflection of me. And there's some people, and I say this a lot, and I mean it. There's people who are big bad dudes or women through their social media account, but you put them in a room, they won't do nothing, right? Mm-hmm. I think it was Jay-Z that said they wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. That's why I'm not a rapper. It took me too long to say that, but that's the truth. You got these people that they wouldn't do nothing in face to face. In fact, they'll lie to you. They'll play nice, get you in the back. You give them a social media account, and they're bad boys. Mm-hmm. Tough, real winners. And the problem is their reputation is being tarnished. You know, they're going to be exposed. They're going to be found out. And so as you begin to remember that, I tell my children and I tell you, and I try to hold it to myself, the same standard is what I put out there is my reputation. So if I'm going to post something that's cruel, mean, or ugly, it says more about my character than it does about the person I'm posting about. Yeah. If I'm going to get on some big rant, it says more about Phillip than it does the person I'm ranting about. Number 2 is this. Consider 3 questions before you do this on social media. Before you post it, send it, take a picture of it, whatever it is. I don't know. But before you do it, is it kind? Is it true? And is it necessary? So before you go out there and start putting whatever you're putting on there, is it kind and is it true? Because see, some things can be kind and some things can be true, but they're not necessary.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that aren't necessary.
Like, that's not necessary. Most cat videos, not necessary. Right? Most of those are not necessary. Most mushy little sayings, not necessary. Right? Most of the stuff, oh, this is just so cute. It's so kind. Hey, listen, all the recipes y'all keep sharing, not necessary.
I'm not cooking them.
No.
It just makes me hungry.
It does. And fat.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm thinking about it, and then I gotta go eat.
And it's like, oh, that was not necessary.
And I follow these little cute emergencies, what it's called. And it's like little pictures of puppies. And I see them every day. Yeah, I like them. I like them.
Oh, gosh.
Every time I see one, I just want to go get a puppy. That's not good for me either.
Look, that's classic.
Yep.
You were thinking it and you said it.
Yep.
And that's on podcast. It was not necessary. That was not necessary. That was one of those we're walking back to the office and you're like, you share it to me. That not here.
For everybody to know.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Now you've posted it. Now let's just say you just posted that on Twitter. You ain't no taking that back. It's not necessary, man. So is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? Number 3 is this. Seek to be kind and not popular. Yeah, you see these people, they jump on a bandwagon right now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You follow Twitter. I follow Twitter. I don't do Facebook and all that other stuff anymore just because.
You don't follow Twitter? You're just on Twitter to follow people?
But what I'm saying is I follow it like I look at it.
Okay, yeah. He gets on Twitter. That's what I meant to say. He's not that old.
Is it kind and is it true?
Both of those.
That was not necessary. So you start seeing these people. They start piling on.
And you see it so much more in celebrities and stuff. And if you're a parent and you have access, you just need to look at who they're following, because a lot of times they're following people, or they're looking at people on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, whatever they're on, and they don't need to be following them, because what they're seeing is people living in worldly ways and speaking worldly ways, and they're getting that every day. They're looking at it, and you're either going to conform to it or you're not going to conform to it.
Listen here, man. Let me talk about. We're talking about the social media part. I got 3 13-year-olds. We're doing our family devotions right now. We're sitting in the living room last night, and I just be honest with you. Been at church all day, been doing stuff all day. When my kids got home, it was late, church was over. I've been teaching, been leading meetings, doing all that stuff, and at 9 o'clock we sat down in the living room. I did not want to do devotion last night as a family just because I didn't want to read. I didn't want to interact. I was dead. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You felt it, but we did it. And my boys were sitting there, and we were talking about stuff, and one of the things came up was about popular. And there are people they go to school with that even go to student ministry with them. Not here. Maybe some, I don't know. And their goal is to get my boys to cuss. Mm-hmm. And they told me, Dad, this one kid, he's always saying, just say something. And the reason is they're trying to get my children their children, they're 13, but they're children, to get in the same boat that they're in, right? They're known a certain way. They want my kids who are known a different way, who are already popular for some of the right reasons, to now be popular for the wrong reasons. My point is this. There's a constant barrage in life, even on social media, to suck you into a vacuum so that you're in the same boat that other people are. And so don't seek to be popular. You know, like right now, UT football. Ooh. Okay, I'm all involved, baby. You know, I'm orange and white. But here's the thing, there's no need to pile on a man, or coaches for that matter. Change is going to come, just like the song, change is going to come. I ain't got to destroy somebody on the way there. But it's easy, because one guy says something, I go, yeah, and then we're just all piling on.
Yeah.
So I just think we've created an environment where normally that mentality, that pile on popularism would not be happening if it wasn't as easy and accessible as it is now. You can be fake, hide behind something, pile on. You would never do that in public. Never do it in public. Not a chance. And if you did, you wouldn't have the crew running with you that you got on the internet. They'd all back off and go, ooh. I don't think I'd have said that. You say it on the internet and it's like, oh yeah. And then now you got 100 of them doing that. You know what I mean? Number 4 is this. If you aren't feeling the love, stay off social media. When you are emotional is the worst time to get on there, post, read, do.
Listen, if you have a problem with somebody, one of the first things people do nowadays, get on social media. Put it on Twitter, put it on Facebook, put it on whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the exact opposite of the way you should live your life.
And then here what happens, then later they have to come back, they've removed it. We've all seen it.
Yeah.
Then they remove it and say, I apologize for my last post. It does not realistically reflect who I am as a person or my belief system. And you want to go, yeah, it does.
You did it.
So does.
Yeah.
It's so who you are. Because you said it. What you ought to be saying is, I really was thinking that. That's how I really felt. But I shouldn't have said it because I got over it.
Yeah.
You know? But you've already done it.
Mm-hmm. And most of the times when people post that and then they go to the person that they're having a problem with, it all gets fixed, and that's when they start deleting it.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to post something about you, and then I'm going to delete it, and then I'm going to come to you after I feel bad and work it out. Here's the other problem. Me and you are good. Me and you, but all these other people, now they got a problem with you.
Yep.
Yeah. Ain't that messed up?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do.
It is.
That's the world we live in, and Satan uses it to destroy relationships. So if you're not feeling love, hey, I'll go another step. If you are feeling the love, don't do it then either. You know? Now, unless you're bragging on somebody, you can brag on them. Yeah, pass that out and boast. This is to all my young folk. If you think you're in love, don't be saying a bunch of dumb stuff. Just, you will regret that.
My middle schoolers, I try to tell them all the time, even some of my high schoolers, they have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and they're so in love. They break up a week later, get another boyfriend, girlfriend, hate them, and then get another boyfriend, girlfriend. They're so in love with them. Yeah, but there's no way that works.
You don't know my life. I love them. Hate them. Love them again.
That's how it is.
Don't do it. All right. Number 5, this is one of the things. See, this is why I couldn't do this on Sunday morning. Social media, and this is my last one. This is what I would say about social media and parenting. Social media should supplement your relationships. They should not replace them.
That's a big one, too.
Huge.
Because you can go in any restaurant, at any time, and you'll see families, all their kids, everybody, just like this right here.
Well, look, okay, so today we were at the lunch. We'd all been working all morning. You've been getting stuff together for our family devotions. I'd had a couple of counseling appointments, and we're all doing our stuff. We get there. We talked all the way to the restaurant. We sit down to eat. What's everybody while we're waiting? We were down here. Because we're trying to get caught up. Because I can't unplug. You know.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. We created, and this is really one of my big pet peeves, and it's because I've been there. I end up having more of a relationship with this, and not just what's coming to it, but this than I do a human being. Mm-hmm. You know, because this thing talks to me. Now I know there's another person on the other end, but it talks to me. right? It excites me. It helps me if when I'm depressed. It encourages me when I don't know what to do. It makes me knowledgeable. So I have a relationship with my phone, and it represents people on the other end of it, but I still don't have a relationship with them. And when you take this, it's funny because you take this thing away from some people, and they don't know how to communicate.
No, they can't talk.
They don't know. It's like,
They get all awkward. Or
you know people that you're with and around, and you don't talk to them hardly at all when you're with or around them. And then they leave, and you text like a machine with them.
Like y'all best friends.
Like, what? No. And then they show up, and it's like,
hey, man.
yeah, what's up? And then they go away, and it's like, we have told ourselves, listen, we have replaced relationships instead of supplement them. And so one of the big things that I'm about, even with my own family, is, yo, we're going to talk. You're going to learn how to talk. Get your eyes up. Man, when I was growing up, my grandfather used to tell me, you look a man in the eyes when you talk to him, right?
Yeah.
Kids now don't know how. They're just down here. Yeah, what? You know? I'm like, man, I ain't seen your eyes in 14 days.
Oh, when they don't have their phone, they're like this talking to you.
Like, they're sweating.
Like, what are you looking at, man?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that we want to do, we know that relationships are so important. God's created them for such, but husbands and wives need to be able to communicate and talk. Children and parents need to be able to communicate and talk. And friends, we got to be able to. So don't let social media replace relationships, but they can supplement them. So it's a good measure. I use this to keep up with my kids now, so it supplements that relationship. It's another way that I communicate to them, but it's not the only way. So that if I ever lost this, if this ever stopped, if we ever were under cyber attack and, you know, somebody blew out our internet for a couple months, I'm good. I'll make it. I'll live. But for some out there, you would stroke out. Kill you. All right, what else you got, man? That's good. That's social media stuff. So just take that with you, put it where you apply it where you need to.
I mean, everybody needs to apply that.
Mm-hmm.
That's some good stuff. You talked about on Sunday the 10 Commandments of parenting.
Yeah.
You kind of started going through that, and I know you're running out of time, so can we just go through that real quick?
Let me run that down because I know a lot of folks want to know about the 10 Commandments of parenting. Number one, what I shared about parenting, we want to thread that needle. Discipline and instructing the Lord, right? And most parents, here's the problem with parenting. Most parents don't know whether they're being successful at it or not. They don't know whether they're doing it right or they're not. And most of us live with a 50-50 understanding. Sometimes I feel like I do good, and sometimes I feel like I don't. Kids will make you second guess yourself every day. Little kids will make you second guess yourself, toddlers, whatever it might be, because, man, you can be doing good, and then you can screw it up just like in an instant. That's why if you ever notice grandparents have got it down pat. They don't try to correct your kids. They don't try to do anything that's going to make them sad. They're all about doting. Buy them stuff, give them stuff, feed them. That's it. All right? Spend the night. Do all those things. Keep them happy, satisfied, and send them back home. And so most parents don't know how to deal with that. When they turn into teenagers, man, I don't know what the right decision is sometimes. You know, I know what the biblical decision is, but I don't know what the right decision is. Biblical is always right, yes, but there's some things in relationships raising kids that it's not a biblical deal. I want to raise them to follow Christ. I want them to know who Christ is, and I want them to be pure. I want them to be honest. All those things that go with the biblical text. But there's some things that you don't know because the Bible doesn't tell you. Are you supposed to buy your kid a car at age 16? It's a 50-50 shot. The Bible doesn't say I have to. It doesn't say don't. Am I supposed to buy them a phone when they're 13? The Bible doesn't say you can or you shouldn't. So there's a lot of questions that you have to answer. So what's the 10 Commandments? Couple of things. Number one, for 10 Commandments of parenting, if I'm going to parent right, and I shared this on Sunday, pursue righteousness in your marriage. Love your wife, love your husband. You married your husband, ma'am. You didn't marry the kids. Get your marriage with your husband right first before you try to jump right into your kids. The reason I say that, and husbands too, you married your wife, not your kids, right? You can't be the best parents you can be while not being the best husband and wife that you should be, right? And that sounds really harsh and judgmental, but it's true. And the reason that is because in order to be the best parent that I'm going to be, my kids have to look at me to see how I love my spouse. And if I'm neglecting that, it's going to show out. So I can't really be the best parent that I'm going to be. Now, that doesn't mean if you've gone through a divorce or if you've had a broken relationship that you failed as a parent. That doesn't mean that at all. But what it does mean is if you are in a relationship, it should be lived out the best that it can be so that you can be the best parent that you can be. Excuse me. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So, and we see this a lot. A lot of parents, they end up becoming empty nesters, don't know each other because when they started having kids, they forgot each other and started focusing on the kids. But look, you can't do that. You married your husband, you married your wife. So pursue righteousness in your relationship first, and then with your children. Number 2 is this: don't be afraid to confess your sins when appropriate to your children. What I meant is this: is 10 Commandment of parenting. Show your children that it's okay to fail and to recover. Don't lay down a groundwork for your kids that failure is never okay and that you can't recover from it. I think there's sometimes we're raising our kids to believe that if they're not perfect, then they are a failure. And I know as a parent, I have failed many times. As a human being, I've failed a multitude of times, colossal ways and in not so colossal ways. And when I said when appropriate, because there's some things that I don't need to tell my kids. They don't need to know. And it's not going to grow our relationship. It's going to undermine our relationship if I lay it all out there. At the same time, there are things that I can share with my kids that they need to know. So just say, for example, if I lose my cool, my temper with them, and I'm angry, and so I go on some big rant, it's a great opportunity once I come to my senses and settle down and go, what a jerk, to sit down with my kids and go, I'm sorry. I sinned against you, man. I should not have been that way. I need you to forgive me. I might have been right about what I was talking about, but I was wrong in how I handled it. And I need my kids to encounter that because they need to know that there's going to come a day as a kid, as their father, they may have to come to me and say that, but to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And when they do fail, life isn't over. You meet some kids, son, I'm telling you, they get a bad grade on their report card and they would soon, they don't want to go home because failure's not an option. And we gotta raise our children to pursue excellence and to pursue perfection in Christ. But they have to understand you're a human being and you're going to fail.
See, obviously, I'm not a parent. Me and Abby do not have kids yet, but I know students. And when you foster that environment where you have to be perfect, where that expectation is placed on students, especially, I see it a lot of time in kids who grow up in church, right? Their parents expect their kid to be perfect, and when they do screw up, when they do make a mistake, they can't talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. They won't ever talk to you about what's going on in their life, and they're just going to push you away, and that distance is going to spread, and they'll wind up hopefully talking to me, but you foster that environment, and they can't talk to you anymore.
Well, and you put your kid in a situation to where they can't tell you the truth, mm-hmm. Okay? And it affects my relationships. Here's what I share with my kids. Boys, I will defend you to the hilt. I will fight for you. I will lay my life down for you. There's not a person I'm afraid to tangle with. I'll talk to them. I'll do whatever. But don't lie to me. And the reason I say that is if I go in gangbusters to deal with you because they just come back from a church camp and you said one thing and they said another and I come in and tell you how wrong you are and I've got my kids back and he's lying to me, why would he lie? He's lying to me because he's afraid of failure, afraid of what I'm going to do to him, so he cannot admit to what went on. Mm-hmm. Right? But when it is that, when we foster the environment and go, yeah, I'm sorry, I messed up, okay, yeah, then I can love him, you can love him, and me and you don't have to have a beef now. We're working together to help him. Yep. So what happens is we end up getting worked in a system because kids don't understand that. Pursue sexual purity is number 3. The reason I said that is because, we want our kids to be sexually pure. We don't want them to be looking at certain things and engaging in premature love and relationships that lead to sexual impurity in relationships in high school, college, whatever. But look, if you're going to have an expectation for your kids to be sexually pure, you need to be sexually pure yourself. So it's one thing if you're going to tell your kids and try to help them and deal with all the stuff they can view on the internet and draw those lines, then don't have it in your own home and don't make an exception for it because you're older. Kids are paying attention.
So there are also softwares out there that for parents that you can go and find them to limit their internet access and what they can go to.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best way, people ask, how am I going to keep my kids sexually pure? Be sexually pure yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Don't open that door. Number 4 is manage your resources wisely. Hopefully we all raise kids that are good with finances, good jobs, good careers, make something of themselves. Problem, we're the ones teaching them. If I'm not good with my finances and I'm not good with managing what God's given me and I'm real just whatever, chances are my kid's going to pick up on that and do the same thing, right? So we got to manage our resources wisely so our kids are watching us manage those resources as we move forward. Number 5, evangelize your children. You know, it's easy because I can dump my kids off down there at the student ministry and you're supposed to evangelize them. But I'm their dad. Their mom's, major part of their life. Your mom or dad, if you're listening on here maybe, evangelize your kids. Tell them about Jesus. It shouldn't be a surprise when they go to church and hear stuff about Jesus. Go, man, they ought to hear some stuff. We're not telling you have to be Billy Graham in your home. Or we're not saying that you have to have the gospel hour every other moment. We're not saying any of that stuff. We're not saying that, before you have your mashed potatoes and gravy, you got to preach 3 points in a poem. But what we are saying is I ought to be talking to my kids about Jesus.
And the more parents talk to the kids about it, the more kids are going to talk about it to other people.
Evangelism ought to be a part of my life. And when I say that, it just means sharing the good news, sharing the gospel, sharing whatever. I should be able to share that with my children. And my kids ought to see me talking about God and about Christ to other people. So make it a part of who you are. Number 6 is teach your children the Word of God. We're doing the iFamily Devotion. Now, if you're not doing the iFamily Devotion, you can get in with us. But if you check out Facebook, check out Twitter, a lot of folks in our church are doing the family devotions. We don't have any right here with us right now. But every day, the staff has written a devotion. You take that, and all we're asking you to do is turn off all your internet stuff in your home, your TV, turn it all off, focus on your family.
Put your phones in the middle.
Put them in the middle, mush pot. And we got scripture for you. You read it. Somebody in the family reads it out loud. There's a story that goes along with it. That probably takes, 10 minutes?
If that.
Maybe 7. I don't know. You read it, and then there's questions. Right, and so last night we were talking about fanning the flame, man, and walking through struggles and keeping that, doing the right thing when it's not popular, which was timely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were having to do things in our life that other people are going, oh, I don't know, and it's tough. So I'm sitting there with my kids. Memphis has been in every family devotion with us as well. He's 4. He brings his iPad to it, and we turn it down because he can't stay. But he falls asleep. He's a good Baptist boy. He just immediately when I start reading, he falls asleep. So he's been there every day. He's just not made it all the way through. But my other 4 children and my wife, when we sit there and for the next, we try to go for an hour. Sometimes we don't get that long. Sometimes we go longer. But we talk about the scripture and then we ask each other questions. I want to teach my children the Word of God. And we wanted to make it easier on the average family to be able to do that because it's one thing for me to say it and you go, yeah, well, you're a preacher. You went to school. You know it. How you feel, you probably feel comfortable. I feel weird about it. We wanted to make it easy for you. And one of the best ways to learn the Word of God is to talk about it. Not just sit there and go through class, but talk about it. Read it and then talk about it. What does it mean? So parents, part of the 10 Commandments in parenting is teaching your children the Word of God. Number 7 was this: discipline your children. Discipline your children. You are a steward of your children. God gave them to you for you to help and raise. You have to discipline your kids. Now, you're in student ministry. Do you see kids that need discipline?
Absolutely. And they're not going to listen to me. They do something dumb, and I'm like, what are you doing? Think about what you're doing. And if I tell them that on a Wednesday night or at a camp or something, they go home and the parents just let them do whatever they want. It's like, I did nothing.
Man, it is so changed. And here's the frustration is the generations that are coming up, they don't like discipline. They don't like rules. They don't like anybody telling them what to do. And that sounds real old. Like I sound like an old person saying that. But, okay, so just let me shift gears for you. Have you seen any of the people standing outside throwing rocks and burning stuff down? That's that generation. People are causing trouble out in the streets. That's that generation. People are hitting veterans and punching people. That's that generation. It's the generation that's my generation and younger that have just gotten out of school or just been out for a few years. It's not the 40s, 50s, 60-year-olds out there doing that. They're too old for that stuff. They're not going to go out and punch people because they can't. They hurt too bad. But there's a respect factor, and we were disciplined. And nowadays, people don't want to be disciplined, and a lot of times we're scared. Parents are scared to discipline. I'm telling you right now, It's a God-given responsibility to discipline your children. Take their phone, punish them, whatever that might be. I'm not saying be ugly to them, and I'm not saying get crazy. But what I am saying is your child wants discipline. And we expect everything to have discipline, and then we get to our home and change it. Right? We want discipline on sports teams. Here's what they'll say. I'll tell you what's wrong with that team. What is it? There's no discipline. He's lost control of the team. Okay? We have somebody that breaks the law in our city, town, whatever. Discipline. People go before a judge and they get some kind of sentence. We'll say, well, you got what was coming to you. Discipline. People come home. Nothing. Because we're afraid they're not going to like us. They're going to rebel. Look, if they need discipline, they're already rebelling. It's a matter of how long are they going to rebel and for what kind of understanding. And you know what I found, Tyler? I'm not talking about beating on your kids. I'm not talking about extreme punishment. I'm not talking about any excessiveness. I'm not talking about overbearingness. I'm talking about discipline. I'm talking about we're not doing that. This is the punishment for it, and here's why we don't do that. That's discipline. No, here's why. This is a consequence. You will rebound. But all of that. No, why? Consequence. Right? We put that into place. And so as we put that into place and as we understand that, your children want that. So a lot of times what we're dealing with this rebelling is the need for discipline. Instruction. Hey, by the way, part of discipline is inspect your kids. Know what's going on. Look at their phone. Well, I don't want to break privacy. Okay, you're right. You're not. Here's the deal. You need to be inspecting your kids' life. You need to know who their friends are. You need to know where they're going. You need to know who they're in a relationship with. You need to know what they're looking at, what they're listening to. You need to know. Some of those things, it's not going to be a big deal. You're not going to like some of those things, but it's not a life or death or a future changing understanding or things that you find out. Some of those things, if you found out, if you actually investigated what's going on in your kids, you would absolutely be sickened. And the only reason you don't know is because you don't investigate. You don't ask. Well, my kids won't talk to me. Well, keep talking. Ask questions. Prod, poke. Every day, you ought to know something. I ask my kids stuff all the time. And it exhausts them. Because they'll say something. I go, well, why? What did that happen? Hey, I don't feel bad about it. I spent the first 13 years raising them, and they were always going, why? Guess what? Now Dad's asking why. And so we want to inspect their lives and instruct them. Number 8 was this: watch your words carefully. In parenting, your words go a long way. Long after the spankings, long after the timeouts, still remember the words. So watch your words. Number 9, show your children love for others. Your kids ought to see that you love other people. They ought to see that you love other things. And so we want to show that. One of the things I try to show my kids is how I love others by giving, going, and doing for other people. And I take them with me. And so, tonight I'll be serving at a concession stand. Guess what? My kids will be there with me because we're just kind of giving back to the community. And number 10 is this: pray. You need to be praying. It's the 10 Commandment of parenting. Pray, pray, pray. You're not qualified. You're not ready. But if you pray, God will qualify you and make you ready to be a parent.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good, man.
It's a good series. The Whisper series wrapped it up.
Yeah.
We got a new series coming up.
Yeah, we do.
You excited about it?
I am. Got a new series we're going to call the Regifter. Everybody's re-gifted. Yeah, you re-gifted this week.
I did. I did re-gift.
Somebody giving you a Starbucks card?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that Starbucks card, and then we had your sweet sister down here doing some stuff. Yeah, yep. She's 20, bro. She ain't got no money.
I gave her a Starbucks card.
Yeah, because somebody had given you a Starbucks card. You are the re-gifter. Right? Christmas is coming. Got Thanksgiving. And so we're doing a series starting next week called the Regifter. And here's what we're doing is we're tracking the journey from heaven to the manger and all the people that God put in place in order to get Jesus here. And when you start looking at the people in Jesus' lineage, a lot of those people made mistakes, did things wrong, had bad things done. It's all it's all put right there in Scripture. And so we're going to lift them off the page and look at the people that God changed their life to bring about Jesus Christ. You think about Ruth, right? And you think about Mary. Think about all these people. Rahab. So we're going to talk about issues again with the people that God used to bring his son. Jesus was regifted to bring about the ultimate gift.
It's awesome.
It's not no Starbucks card, but
it's better.
It's going to be good.
All right, awesome.
Hey, man, we appreciate you joining us for our podcast. We will have another podcast coming next week. Join us this week, 9:30, 11 o'clock at Kingston campus. A lot of things going on at the Grove as we kick off a new series, new word this week. Join us at the Grove. And if you haven't heard the other messages on Whisper Series, check them out at ilovemygrove.com. Share this post, share this podcast, share the message, get the word out. Jesus is for real, and he can change your life too. So this is Say What?
Say what?
See you, bye.
I love you.